Wasabi. Ooh, spooky. Oh, jeez. Hold on. Okay. Wasabi. Wasabi. My mic is visible in the shot, I know, but decided to set things up to make it look somewhat professional. And this guy's always making me look unprofessional. But we're gonna go ahead and get started. Gonna give myself a countdown in 3, 2. Hello and welcome, neighbors and friends. My name is Gary, and this is, of course, my writing vlog. If you made it through the hybrid vlog trilogy of videos, then today we're gonna do things a little different. I don't have my trusty pen. I got this one instead. They're all the same pen, except my trusty pen has all the ink all the way down here. But today we're doing something a little different. Today we are going to develop a short story. That's right. I've mentioned it before in the hybrid trilogy that my writing group and I are working on an anthology of all of our collected short stories together. And, you know, we're hoping to publish that very soon. And what I want to do today is to, you know, develop a short story and submit it in as a second submission. Now, I have a few ideas running about as to what it's going to be, so long as it pertains to the genres of horror, suspense, or thriller. So it's definitely going to be a pretty spooky story. And can't get mad at this face. We're gonna go ahead and just get started. No, Wasabi, don't do it. Okay, I might do some pauses here and there to do research on a few things, but I have a general idea of what I want to do. As far as what I want to title it, I usually do it at the end, but right now I'm gonna put it down as I'll call it Spooky Short Story. Okay. Now we have to think about some of the rules of horror. And you have your typical kind of presets, kind of like a haunted house, or maybe there's a ghost roaming about in a building or whatever. I think I want to take the traditional spooky story and kind of flip it on its head. Because like I said, I've been running some ideas for a while. And I think I'm going to start with the protagonist. Who is our protagonist in the story? So, protag is what I'm going to call. It's going to be... I've thought about this already. I listened to this podcast where it goes over unsolved murders. And I think some of the more unsettling ones are the ones of young women who seemingly seem like the really upstanding, you know, good girls, but there's like some speculation that they might have not been so upholding to the moral expectations of their setting, of their location and whatnot. So I definitely want to play with that idea. So I think it's going to be a young woman. Here's the thing with me. When it comes to physical descriptions, I don't really get into that a whole bunch because I prefer the reader kind of put the picture in their own heads, you know, of what they look like. Because I feel it makes a stronger connection when you yourself imagine what that person would be like, and they fit so ideal. But what I do like to describe about the person is their personality, of what little actions they do throughout the story, of what motivates them, just pretty much who they are as a person. And appearance is kind of secondary, in my opinion. So she's going to be a young woman, and what I'm about to write next is not her personality, but what her state of being is. She's scared and depressed. Because, you know, being scared and being depressed, it's not a personality. It's not who defines who you are. It is a state of mind at this current predicament. Because what I'm thinking in the very beginning, just opening out of the gate, just getting out there, okay, you hear her screaming. Let's see, I'm going to come up with something here. Shouts rang out in the hallways of the... Okay, because I have an idea of what I want, the next word I have to use has to be more careful. Should I use home or house? Home or house? Home or house? If I use home, there's obviously still a connection there, and it is more personal, and it would seem like the obvious choice. But I feel like with house, there's a disconnect, and it's easier to see the house as the antagonist in a way, even though it is just a setting. So I think for now, I'm going to use house, because you are a new reader. This is your first time reading this. You have no connection to this place yet. So right now I'll kind of leave it disconnected and say house. Shouts rang out in the hallways of the house. Steps thundered on the creaking floors. Steps thundered on the creaking floors, shaking the... I'm going to put a comma there. Of course, when it comes to just writing it on notebook, because my process is very much write everything out on a notebook first and then type it in, as you've seen in my other vlogs. So when it comes to like not just grammar but also punctuation and spelling, I kind of am a bit more lenient about it, because I'm going to edit it later whenever I put it on the computer, as you saw with the last video. And speaking of which, I still need to submit, so the story, I should say. Steps thundered on the creaking floors, shaking the building to its foundation. A young woman, and I'm thinking it's going to be a bit more era specific, so this is what I'm going to write next. A young woman flailed one arm in terror while using the other to hike up her dress. She raced down, heart pounding to the rhythm of her pace. Okay, so it should give you an idea of what this woman is dressed like at least. A young woman flailed one arm in terror while using the other to hike up her dress. So, it's definitely not taking place today, because if you're in your home by yourself, more than likely you're not going to be wearing formal clothing when you're just hanging out. But then again, we don't really know. We have our media representations as to what people dressed like back then. And we don't know if there was loungewear back in like the 1800s or so. And as far as the research I was talking about, it was really to kind of get a frame of what our protagonist is like. Not necessarily any specifics on the time, because... Okay, I might as well just kind of spill the beans of what's happening here. So, the house is alive somehow. And this woman is... And the reason why she's scared and depressed is because it's a constant thing. It wears down on her mind. Now you're asking, why doesn't she leave? And we will get to that in just a sec. But this house is coming alive, and she's hearing noises all the time. And, and we're starting right at a point of extreme action. She's running down the halls. You know, her steps are really loud. Her heart is just beating out of her chest, matching to the rhythm of her pace. And because she has a flailing arm, which I've already established, rhythm of her pace. Items. Value crashed to the ground. She advanced with reckless abandonment. Okay, so what I've established here, it's very clear that whatever is going on does not matter more than this specific moment. Now we need to, now that we established that she's running, we need to establish why she's running. Maybe she turning her head back, her eyes saw no pursuer, but her mind was wrought with their malicious presence. Hopefully that'll do. Pretty much went ahead and jumped on to what she's seeing. She's all turning her head back. Her eyes saw no pursuer, but her mind was wrought with their malicious presence. So that kind of, it doesn't necessarily say outright what is chasing her, but it's very clear that they're putting pressure on her mind. And so you kind of get a clue as to what it might be. She's flailing around, she's running around. Maybe I'll have her stop at one point to see if she's still being chased. Okay. Let's see. Racing down the staircase. Wasabi. Retreats. Relatives past. The portraits of relatives past. Cast. Gaze. Menace as they stared from the walls. I honestly don't have a way of developing a story. Sometimes I do the whole bullet journaling thing where I have bullet points and everything's all organized. But sometimes I do it like this, where I just write the story. And sometimes I just go ahead and go for it, and it kind of works out in that favor. I know for my last short story, that's how I did it. I had the basic idea. Okay, I remember how I did it. I wrote down the basic concept I had, and then I just wrote the story. And of course, it took multiple drafts to get it, because I also had to refine kind of the rules of the universe, or rules of the world, I should say. What the characters are like, what they're motivated by, what they want to do, what makes them tick. And that's pretty much how I develop stories in general. I have a basic idea, I write out the story, and just kind of work out the kinks from there. So I kind of have an idea what the protagonist is like, and we know that she's terrified and she's running for her life. And what I placed right here is racing down the staircase, the portraits of relatives past cast a gaze of menace as they stared from the walls. Ignoring them, her feet touched the foyer floor. She stopped, her body aching and burning due to exertion. Body aching. Her lung stinging in her throat. Lung stinging in her throat. Completely arid. A stark contrast to the moisture. I don't want to use moisture, that's too mild a word. I'll just use sweat. To the sweat on her face. Okay, relatives by the cascades, menaces from the. Ignoring them, her feet touched the foyer floor. She stopped, her body aching and burning due to the exertion, her lungs stinging and her throat completely arid, drew a stark contrast to the sweat on her face. So she's stopping, but her body is still in activation mode, in go mode, you know? So, what's next? Why did she stop? She stopped because she wanted to check if the pursuers were behind her. Breathing tattered and heavy, she tried her best to listen for her pursuers. Breathing tattered and heavy, she tried her best to listen for her pursuers. Okay, so now she's listening. Eyes darting in different directions. She tried to find their physical form. Eyes darting in different directions, she tried to find their physical form. Not necessarily an important detail, but you know, it's to kind of give her action, because I like my characters to move around a lot, to express themselves in their actions. And this isn't necessarily a big movement here, but it's her eyes moving around to kind of color the scene more, in which she's terrified, but she's also trying her very best to examine everything around her. This is just a little bit of action, kind of strengthening that whole point. So she tried to find their physical form. Her blood ran cold when, I don't need a comma there, when slow steps creaked on the stairs above. She could see the indentions caused by their movement on because then this would assume that the stair steps have carpeting, which, I mean, it's possible, but if this is like an 1800s kind of lady, I don't think her home would have that. So, how do I indicate? Because this is just a visual thing. Because now we know. Okay, let me just go ahead and read it out loud. Her blood ran cold when slow steps creaked on the stairs above. Right there, it's good enough, but I want to add more color. She could see the indentions caused by their movement on, and here's where I would have put like carpeted steps, but I don't think a home from that era would have carpeting on the stairs. So, how does she see that there is movement? Now, it's very clear that she can't see a physical form, but she can see the physical reactions of our world and their interaction. So with that clear, now I need to figure out how I'm going to make it visible, because now it's audible. She can hear them walking down the stairs, and it's slow, you know, like Now how do we make it visually tangible for her to see? And that's what we need to figure out. So with no carpeting, maybe, because I could see maybe like a no. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Because it's an old house. Yeah, because it's an old house, her blood ran cold when slow steps creaked on the steps above. She could see the indentions caused by their movements on the slight bending of wood on every step. Okay, I'm gonna see how far we go before we're off camera, so I might have to move it around. So about right here is when I'll need to put the camera down so you can see what I'm writing. I already marked it, so we should be good. Okay. Of every wood of every step. Cried out and roar. And now we're about to find out why she can't leave. She cried out in horror and raced towards the door, leaping out to escape her fingers graze the door. No, spelled that wrong. Okay, let me read what I got here. Every step. She cried out in horror and raced towards the door. Leaping out to escape, her fingers grazed the doorknob. Before falling flat on her stomach. This is more coloring, of course, because I could say she just got to the door and grabbed the door handle, but I wanted to give it a bit more flair. So now she's on her stomach, and she is... Okay, let me just read it out loud. Towards the door. Leaping out to escape, her fingers grazed the doorknob before falling flat on her stomach. She scrambled she scrambled to get up. And the steps that's more incremental. It's not necessarily a speed thing. Strangle it. The steps. Continue on at a faster pace. Okay. She scrambled to get up, and the steps began to advance at a... Okay, here we go. And the steps began to advance at a faster pace. Getting up one knee. Oh, hold on, allergies coming up again. Oh, jeez. Oh, it sucks. Okay. Sorry. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night as well. But that's okay. Getting up to one knee. He gripped tightly for attempting to turn the door. How long are we? Okay. The door knob. Scrambled to get up, and the steps began to advance at a faster pace. Getting up to one knee, she gripped tightly before attempting to turn the doorknob. So now we have a play-by-play of the action, and with action scenes like these, where there's a lot of rapid movement, it's good to keep your sentences short. You don't need any flowery descriptions. You just kind of need to say what's going on in the physiology of whoever is the subject, what is happening. And it's good to have little minute details here and there to kind of build up the tension. It's a second, it's like a nanosecond by nanosecond play by play. And that way you can really build the tension because it gets so close, kind of like that, and that's what I did. Okay. Tightly attempt to turn the doorknob. Now how do I transition to this sudden cut? I don't want to say, then it happened, or I could just go into the physical description of what is happening, like I've been doing. That way it kind of stitches together with the scene. So, let's see. Attempting to turn the doorknob. Here is where I would put a break, a paragraph break. I don't know how to do it on paper just yet. I don't want to put a bullet point because I feel like I'm making a point there. But I'm sure if I read it back to myself and I just read it out loud and just kind of do how I do, I'm sure I'll figure it out by then. So, a rush. Do I want to use rush? Yeah, I'll use rush. A rush. Flowed in her brain. I don't want to use a simile here. Strange horse raked its ligaments throughout the wrinkles in her mind. Okay. A rush flowed in her brain. This strange force raked its ligaments throughout the wrinkles in her mind. I'm going to read that again. I don't know if that sounded right. A rush flowed in... I could just replace the words. Yeah. A rush flowed in her mind. This strange force raked its ligaments throughout the wrinkles in her brain. And all she could do is bear it. I think for a short story like this, we won't be able to get into her personality very much. The thought just occurred to me. I'll do my best to sprinkle it out. That way you get a sense of who she was before the troubles. But very much her modus operandi is very much scared and depressed. And I guess you'll find out why she's scared and depressed. I think finding out why she's scared and depressed is more important than her personality without it, you know, because that way then we don't have a story. So that's why I put on all she could do is bear it. We know she is very resilient because she's attempting this over and over. Attempting what? Escaping. She's attempting to escape over and over. So throughout the wrinkles in her brain, and all she could do is bear it. Oh, I guess it's time for me to move it up. That way you guys can see. Okay, and I can still reach. I'm still comfortable. Do is bear it. Okay. White light appeared in her eyes, along with layers and layers of disconnected. I usually don't like to write outside the margins, but I did it because I'm in the word. A white light appeared in her eyes, along with layers and layers of disconnected images. Okay. Disconnected. Layers and layers of disconnected images. Translucent. Translucent in their appearance. But stacked together. The fridge went quiet. Oh, I don't know. I've been having trouble with that refrigerator a lot lately. It's just making a lot of noise, and that's about it. First night it was horrible, but then as time went on, I got used to it. But I'm glad I got this microphone here. That way you guys can hear me. But okay. But stacked together. Formed heavy blanket that covered her whole being. Okay. So here we go. Okay. I'll just start from where. Okay. A white light appeared in her eyes, along with layers and layers of disconnected images. Translucent in their appearance, but stacked together, it formed a heavy blanket that covered her whole being. So already, I hope you guys kind of get a sense of what I'm trying to go for here. And with that heavy blanket that covered her whole being, it kind of indicates what her physical body is like. She's probably now maybe on the ground because the images flashing in her head has become so overwhelming that her body just kind of falls over, you know? So I think I'll just go ahead and end that right there. We're going to move on to the next scene, whole being. And the stench, gotta move my notebook up so you can see. The stench of sweat, activated her conscious, the realization of her situation activated her body. Now, I don't know what this technique is called, what I just did, but pretty much the stench of sweat activated her conscious. The realization of her situation activated her body. It's where you have, similar words in two sentences, similar words, but there's enough difference to kind of bring the point home. So and it's stench right here, realization in the next sentence. Of sweat, her situation. Activated her conscious, her body. I don't know what this technique is called, so if you guys can tell me on the comments, I'd really like to know. But I love using this technique because it kind of just brings the point home. I have been edited on this a lot, actually. People seem to think that I'm doing it on accident, or like I don't realize. Like, no, it is a conscious decision. I really like how it flows. I like how it sounds, so I like to keep it. I'm sure I'll get flagged for that whenever I bring it up to editing, but you know what? I'm gonna keep those. I like how there's a kind of a repetition to it, and it also kind of indicates that her mind and her body are separate somehow. So there's a bit more story reasoning as to why I use the sentence here. Her mind and her body are separate for whatever reason, and we'll find out in just a bit whenever I get farther into it. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick cut right here because I am going to check on another video that I've rendered. If you're right now at the recording of this vlog right here, I'm actually rendering part 2 of the hybrid vlog trilogy. I'll probably get to rendering part 3 before I come back here and continue on. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. All right, I forgot my mic. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so last we left, turns out with the video, some weird glitch happened, and I got a whole like hour and a half of nothing but darkness. So it's like, with no audio even, and it's like, oh, there's a reason it was only 117 megabytes. So I went ahead and rendered it again. It might take a good amount of hours, so it might be one of those last minute things, and it might have to split into 2 videos in 2 days instead of like 2 videos in 1 day, which I was hoping for. But you know, it gives me more time to work on this video here. So the stench of sweat activated her conscience. The realization of her situation activated her body. So now we know she's awake. Okay. Bed would be ideal if the familiar sensation didn't bring up the realization. I use realization again. But it would be ideal if the familiar sensation didn't bring up the fact. I'll just use fact. She failed escape. Okay. So let me read what I wrote. The bed would be ideal if the familiar sensation didn't bring up the fact that she failed to escape. So now we have an indication that it's a kind of a repetition type of situation happening here. And you know, also put, because it's a nice home, more than likely she's probably a lady of wealth, or at least has money to have a nice bed. So she's sleeping on a nice bed, but because she's been in this bed for however long, because she noticed what it feels like, it just brings up the fact that she failed to escape. Let's see. Rising up, she gets up, maybe looks in the mirror to kind of take inventory of her face. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. And of course, the stench of sweat. It's there because, you know, fear has a way of making you excrete bodily scents and odors. So, let's see. She rose out of bed and walked his longer stride, so stepped its small room to the mirror for a few moments. She took inventory of her face. Okay, failed to escape. She rose out of bed and stepped to the mirror. For a few moments, she took inventory of her face. Eyes surrounded by dark circles and dragged down by fatigue. Felt weight and challenge. Okay, so I'm going to read what I wrote. Eyes surrounded by dark circles and dragged down by fatigue, she felt the weight and challenge of having life in her eyes. That one's too ethereal, too ephemeral. She felt the weight and challenge of she felt the weight and challenge of relaxed expression. Dragged down by fatigue, she felt the weight and challenge of wearing a relaxed expression. I don't mind that expression. What else is going on with her eyes? Trails seem to have been carved out by tears that have dried up long ago. Okay, it's kind of been gnawing at my brain for a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and check on the other vlog and see if it's rendering smoothly. I just changed the setting to a lower resolution on that one because I wanted to save memory, but I figured I have plenty of memory left on my hard drive, and it's going to be a pretty big file. I'd imagine it's about 30 gigs or so, but you know, just for the sake of getting it done, it's going to be at full 1080, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and check on that. I'll be right back. Okay, it is telling me that it's going to take another about 4 hours to render, so that seems about right. So that should be going along smoothly. I should have that video up by tonight on my end. This video right now might be up in 2 days. So, you know, getting a sneak peek, getting it in early, I should say. Okay. Trails seem to have been carved out by tears that have dried up long ago. So she doesn't cry anymore, is what I'm saying here. She doesn't cry anymore because physically she might have dried it all up, or just emotionally. And this is where because we saw scared all throughout this. This is where depressed starts to come in, because she can't even have a relaxed expression. It has to be so dour. It's not relaxed, it's defeated. And trails seem to have been carved out by tears that have dried up long ago. So she's not crying about it anymore. She's just kind of accepted it in a very depressing way. I know, why am I writing such a dark story? Well, it is horror or thriller. Nothing is more horrifying than the pitfalls of depression. Oof, real talk. Okay, so it just dried up long ago. What is next? What else? She counted the seconds in her hand when final reminder. She counted the seconds in her hand. She counted the seconds. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove all that. She counted the seconds until the final reminder of her fate would roar in. It was a bitter. Do I want to use bitter? It was a powerful sensation. It was a powerful powerful gang. I like gang better. Gang of sensations. I might change that actually. I don't think I like gang very much. It doesn't necessarily fit. It was a powerful, not symphony. I'm just going to use set. We don't have to get too flowery with it. It was a powerful set of sensations. Okay. She counted the seconds until the final reminder of her fate would roar in. It was a powerful set of sensations that cover her body. A splitting headache would burn in the back of her skull. A splitting headache would burn in the back of her skull. No matter how many times she experienced this, she always fell to her knees. She fell to her knees despite best attempts. No matter how many times she experienced this, she always fell to her knees despite her best attempts at resistance. You then fall. Then followed by heavy sensations, pain It was then followed by heavy sensations of pain all across her back. She couldn't remember how she handled these pain in the past. Sorry, I kind of really got in there. It's not even connected. There's stuff missing, but oh my goodness, my glasses. But I'm just going to go ahead and read it out loud. You read what I got. I really got into it just now. Oh, sometimes that happens. Okay. Sensations of pain all across her back. She couldn't remember how she handled these moments of pain in the past. She even pondered if she had always been in this state, a permanent purgatory from which even the door rejects her escape. Did I use escape already? No, okay. Permanent purgatory from which even the door rejects her escape. Hold on. Oh, hold on. There's an alarm coming off. I don't need that. I'm busy recording. Okay. Wouldn't be. She would be. Okay. After this ritual, she would be unbothered until the event was triggered. The pain still radiating after the fact. She did remember the days she tried to keep herself occupied with maintaining the large house. though this proved difficult due to needing keep a low profile. Any grand gestures or big or any grand gestures or items. Okay. She didn't remember the days she tried to keep herself occupied with maintaining the large house, though this proved difficult due to needing to keep a low profile. Any grand gestures or movements of items at the wrong time would result in the invisible force reacting to her actions. So right now I'm kind of setting the rules of this world. So what we know so far is that her life keeps repeating, and it seems to reset only when she touches the door, or at least the doorknob. So there were stretches of time where she wasn't where she was left alone, but she still had the pain in the back of her skull and across her back to keep radiating while she lived in this purgatory. So what this means in the rules that I set, whenever she bumps in, I'm trying to say whenever she moves something, I might as well just say that. I'm going to say that. But pretty much when she moves something or steps too loudly in a place, all of a sudden it's reacted to with invisible steps and an invisible force reacting to stuff to the physical world. You know, it happens. Almost as if she disturbed them. Okay, I'm going to write that instead. Okay. I'm going to, because I might keep this, I want to use this as a reference. Keep a low profile. It seemed as if Okay. It seemed as if she stepped too loudly or moved an item at the wrong time. The invisible force would react by interacting with objects or floor around her. She needed to do was remain still until that force lost interest or left. All she needed to do was remain still until that force lost interest or left. Sometimes, however, so it's 1 o'clock right now, so I'm gonna try to pound this out. I don't think I'll get the whole story, but I think I'll get like a good chunk, just kind of show you what I'm working on and whatnot. However, sometimes, this force would touched her. I need another word for squishy. I'm going to use squishy just for this draft. Warm and squishy. Squishy. So here I'm kind of playing with the metaphor. I'll just go read what I got. Sometimes, however, this force would touch her when she got too close. The sensation was warm and squishy, like the soft bits in the predator's mouth. She did her best to avoid these interactions because she feared the jaws that line the sensation. So pretty much I'm playing with the whole metaphor of the predator's mouth. You know, even if you look at a cat's mouth, there's pink fleshy parts in there. The only thing to avoid are the jaws, and that's what she wants to avoid. She wants to avoid the jaws of the invisible force whenever it touches her. And notice I did something a little different, because most of the time whenever you get touched by a ghost, it's a cold sensation. This time it's warm. So, you know, kind of setting up the world in this way. I'm gonna get it readjusted there so you can see it better. Okay. Vigilance. I don't know how to spell monitoring. A constant vigilance and monitoring of her own actions wore down her mind after a while, and she would get restless. It's then she provoked visible force. Okay. It's then that she provoked the invisible force. It seemed to search for her when she made too much noise. For a period it would be on the lookout, and the young woman would lie in bed for weeks at a time. For a while. Okay. For weeks at a time. The search would wear off, and she would continue existing. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Next scene. Thing that so definitely with these paragraphs here, I'm establishing that this invisible force is kind of this stalking force that she has to contend with. So she has to stay quiet, not make too much noise, not to move things around at the wrong time, which she can never figure out. But when it does happen, there's noises that's being made, and she feels the warm sensations, and it feels like this invisible force is searching for her. So she would lie in bed for weeks just until the interest died down. And then I put continue existing, because what kind of life is that, Constantly watching your own steps like eggshells on the floor all the time. It's not a happy existence for her. So it's no wonder she's just depressed all the time. And so continue existing. I have that there. And the thing that pushed her patience, the thing that made it hard for her, the thing that pushed her patience the most was when the only door out would open, and it would open constantly, and it would open constantly, almost taunting her, if you will. You know, just really grind, you know, on her condition. The door would always open. It always opened constantly. And there were several times when she stepped quietly down to the foyer and attempted to walk past the open door. Okay. There were several times when she stepped quietly down to the foyer and attempted to walk past the open door. Whenever she did this, stacks of translucent images would bump in her mind. Although there was a noticeable difference. One image contained a desolate road. Although there was a noticeable difference. One image contained a desolate road. Black tree. Okay. Although there was a notable difference, one image contained a desolate road under a fog. A black tree would be on the side. The image gave her a cold chill and brought slimy tingles on the back of her skull and on her back. So we know, we kind of have the rules established of what's happening. She can't escape this house. But the one image that keeps coming back to her is this desolate road with a tree on the side. What does this mean? I'm going to have to leave it on the cliffhanger for today. This video is also going to be another long one. But that's okay. You guys got to see the process. And yeah, I hope, going to bring it up to myself. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm thinking of continuing on with this for sure. So we'll probably see more of what's going on, get a good clue as to what I'm going to go with, what I'm thinking about. But this should kind of give you an idea of what it's like to kind of write a short story. And if you're a writer, you already know you have your own way of doing it, and I respect you for that. But if you're interested in writing and this is your first time really getting into it, and you happen to stumble on my video, the only advice I have for you is to just do it. You have your own way of doing it. Some people like to bullet journal. I like to bullet journal, but when it comes to something like this, because if you hadn't noticed, I'm making it up as I go. I have a general idea of what I want it to be. I told myself the concept of what I wanted it to be. But as far as like the more intricate details, like the rules and the characters and what is happening and what, that is going on as I keep going. So it really is one of those things where you get good at it by just doing it all the time. I think, for today, I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to think about the story a bit more so I can come back with more details, get this draft done, get it edited, and hopefully submit it in pretty soon. Thank you again for watching. Stay safe, and always remember to just write. Oh man. I just went grocery shopping, buddy. I wasn't gone for long. I'm gonna get up in my grill again. Oh, you cute boy. You cute boy. Look at him destroy my shirt. And look at him drool all over my shirt with his wet nose. I gotta zoom up in his wet nose. Hold on. I gotta clean this. Wasabi. Oh. Oh. Why do you always destroy my shirts, Wasabi?